Harry Patch was a British soldier during the First World War. Living to see 111, he was known as the last fighting Tommy, or last surviving soldier known to have fought in the trenches of the First World War. However, refused to share his story until he turned 100. He described the trenches as a rude awakening. The glorification of war compared to reality was very different. The trenches were about 6 feet deep and 3 feet wide. You slept on the firing step, if you could. Shells bursting all around you, filthy, he explained. Lice were another major problem during the war. The lice each had a different bite and they would drive you mad, he said. Shell shock was not recognized as an illness until the end of the war, so any man who had it in the beginning was called a coward. That is another thing with shell shock. I never saw anyone with it, never experienced it, but it seemed like you stood at the bottom of the ladder and you just could not move. Shell shock took all the nervous power out of you, he said. Rats the size of cats also infested the trenches. Harry described how they gnawed on everything they possibly could, even shoelaces. He and his fellow soldiers would cover their faces with blankets at night and the rats would crawl across them. Out of all his memories, Harry could never forget going over the top of the trench. He recalled crawling, unable to stand up or a sniper would hit him. He also described the many tragedies he witnessed, such as watching the deaths of fellow soldiers. He recalls coming across a Cornish man who was ripped from his shoulder to his waist. With a clean bullet wound, he was lying there in a pool of blood, saying, "Shoot me." He was beyond human aid, and died before Harry could even pull the trigger. Harry recalls the last words of a wounded man before he died. He would never forget the shriek of the word mother spilling out of this man's mouth before taking his last breath. You've got a memory. You've got a brain about the size of a teacup. I've got a memory that goes back for 80 or 90 years, and I think that memory goes on with you when you die. And that's my opinion. Death is not the end, he explains. One night, while fighting on the front lines, the 3 friends Harry had left were killed. This was when he realized that war was not worth it. War was nothing but loss.